Hello everyone. Thank you all for watching the video and leaving such heartfelt comments. Wishing the whole family good health and peace. The next episode begins. The new day began, and Diep woke up in the stillness of the room. She didn't want to leave her warm bed, but her mind was filled with troubling thoughts. The feeling of worry and confusion lingered within her, like waves crashing against the shore, never ceasing. She sat up, her eyes swollen from tears, staring blankly at the empty space in front of her. "I don't know why I'm pregnant," she whispered to herself. She had never been close to James in the way that would explain this. They had always maintained a respectful distance, never crossing the line. And yet how could this happen? She had checked with the doctor, and the results were clear: she was pregnant. The overwhelming feeling of disbelief surged within her. She had tried to think logically about it, but couldn't come up with a single reasonable explanation. How could this happen? The question echoed repeatedly in her mind, like a sound that wouldn't stop reverberating. Unable to bear the weight of her thoughts any longer, Diep got out of bed. Her feet felt heavy, but her mind was even heavier. How am I going to face James now? Will he accept this pregnancy? She wondered aloud, her heart sinking. This feeling of confusion and uncertainty consumed her. She didn't know how to face James or how he would react. And even more so, she didn't know who the father was. This made everything even more difficult to understand and process. To clear her mind, Diep decided to go out into the garden. The familiar tasks of tending to the garden always brought her a sense of calm. She walked into the garden where the seeds she had carefully planted were beginning to sprout. She looked at the little seedlings pushing through the soil, and for a brief moment she felt a sense of hope. "These cucumber seeds are growing well," she thought, a small smile forming on her face as she gazed at them. Diep continued her work, grabbing a bag of fertilizer and spreading it evenly across the rows of plants. Taking care of the garden not only gave her a sense of purpose, but also helped her feel like she still had control over something in her life. She made sure each row received the nutrients it needed, hoping that these plants would grow as strong as she hoped to be. Walking past the green onion rows, she noticed that some of the plants had withered. With a sigh, she pulled off the dead leaves, ensuring that the fresh ones could grow in their place. Every little task, no matter how small, felt important to her. "These onions have lost all their leaves. Better remove them so the new ones can sprout faster," she thought as she worked quickly. Her next stop was the cabbage patch. She pulled weeds and collected the older, yellowing leaves, gathering them into a bundle to take back home. Diep chopped the leaves and carried them to the chicken coop. "I don't have money for chicken feed. You'll have to eat these leaves for now," Diep said to the chickens, placing the chopped cabbage in their trough. Although this was a busy day, taking care of her plants and animals always gave her some sense of satisfaction. At least these little creatures depended on her, and in a way they made her feel less alone. After tending to the chickens, Diep took a watering can and filled it with water. She began watering the rows of vegetables, moving from one bed to the next. The sound of water hitting the soil was soothing, and each plant that received nourishment gave her a sense of accomplishment. She went from one bed to the next, making sure that each row of vegetables had enough water. As she watered the last row, her mind couldn't help but wander back to the troubling thoughts. The questions about her future, about James, and about herself kept circling in her mind. She didn't have all the answers, and perhaps she never would, but one thing was certain: she needed to figure out what to do next. The quiet moments of tending to the garden, though helpful, couldn't completely silence her racing thoughts. She couldn't help but feel that everything was changing, and she wasn't sure how to handle it. Would James understand? Would he stand by her? What would become of this life inside her? And what would it mean for the future? As the plants around her continued to grow, Diep could only hope that, in time, she would find the answers she needed. After finishing all the household chores, Diep opened the bundle of bananas she had fermented a few days ago. The faint, pleasant smell of the fermented bananas filled the air, making her feel at ease. However, when she looked at the bananas, Diep couldn't help but feel a little anxious. The bananas weren't fully ripe yet. They still had a slight green tint. She thought to herself, "How can I sell bananas that aren't ripe yet?" Diep hesitated, unsure of what to do. Or maybe, I could sell them cheap and let them take them home to ferment further, she thought, and decided to go with this option. After a while, she noticed that some bananas were almost ripe, and she felt a little relieved since at least they had ripened a bit more evenly. These are almost ripe, Diep reassured herself and began picking out the best bananas, those with a light yellow color and smooth skins, to put in the bundle. After selecting some bananas she was happy with, Diep cleaned up and got ready to head to the market. She slung the banana bundle over her shoulder and stepped outside. The sun was high in the sky, and the market was bustling with activity. People were busy buying, selling, chatting, and exchanging goods. Diep quickly found an empty spot to set up her bananas. In less than a few minutes, a woman walked by, noticed Diep's bundle of bananas, and stopped to inquire, "Are these freshly fermented? They look so good. How much for a bunch?" Diep smiled and replied, "Yes, freshly fermented. They're cheap, and if you buy more, I'll give you a discount." The woman nodded, took a bunch of bananas, and paid. She then continued on her way, while others began to notice Diep's bananas as well. Within no time, Diep had sold all the bananas she had brought to the market. Each time a sale was made, the customers smiled in satisfaction, making Diep feel happy that her efforts hadn't been in vain. By the end of the market day, Diep was tired but also felt very content. She stood up, slung the empty bundle over her shoulder, and felt a sense of relief. "I've sold all my bananas today. I should have enough money to buy some food for myself and for the animals at home." The feeling of success and peace washed over Diep, making her feel more grounded in life. At the same time, James arrived by car to meet Chung, so they could discuss the purchase of the land. Stepping out of the car, James greeted Chung with a handshake. "How are you doing, Chung?" James asked. "I'm doing well, still in good health. How about you?" Chung replied. "I'm good too," James said. "By the way, are you getting married soon?" "Honestly, I'm not getting any younger. I'm preparing to settle down." Chung nodded thoughtfully. Then they walked over to the land. "Here's the land you're interested in," Chung said. "It's about 10 meters wide and over 20 meters deep. Take a look. It's been a while since we last met, huh? The property has a 4-meter wide road frontage, and the depth extends over 20 meters. All in all, it's a very convenient location," Chung continued as they walked further. "It's quite a nice spot and it's near a good area. The house would have a nice view and good feng shui," James commented. "Are you getting married soon?" Chung asked. "Actually, I'm seeing someone and I'm planning to get married soon," James replied. "I want to live here near the town for convenience, especially for family life." James smiled, feeling a bit nostalgic. "That's why I'm looking for a place to build a house. The location is great. There's a school nearby and a market just a short walk away." "Sounds great," Chung said. "I wish I could have something like that too. By the way, are you getting married soon?" "Well, I've been in a relationship for over 3 years, but we've been having some issues. We broke up for a bit, but now I'm looking for someone else," James said, a little sad. "It's been tough, honestly." They continued walking along the land, discussing the area's features. "This piece of land is perfect for a house," Chung said. "The property has been converted to residential land, and I'm willing to sell it to you if you're interested." James looked at the land and nodded. "I trust you, Chung. Let's see what happens, but the price is a key consideration." As they continued, James shared more of his thoughts. "I still need to ask Diep if she would want to live here in the town. It's something we should discuss before making a decision." Once they reached the coffee shop, Chung and James sat down to discuss the land deal. Chung spoke up first, saying, "Well, you know what they say, good land attracts good fortune." He looked around, noting the ambience of the place. "Do you come here often?" James smiled. "Yeah, I do. It's a nice place." "Then what will you have?" I'll get it for you, Chung offered, noticing James had yet to order. They have great coffee here. Or if you prefer, their cocoa is excellent. James nodded. I'll have a lytutien, please. The place was a little crowded, but the service was quick. Chung smiled. Sorry about the crowd, but this is my usual spot. I come here often for a good coffee. James sipped his drink as they continued their conversation. This coffee is good, he said, feeling comfortable. Chung, noticing that James seemed satisfied with his drink, turned the conversation back to the property. About that land we looked at, what price are you asking for it? Well, I've been friends with these people for a while, Chung explained. So, I'm offering you a special price of 150 million VND per meter. The plot is 10 meters wide and 24 meters deep. James leaned back, considering the offer. That seems fair, but I'll need to look at everything first. Can you hold on to it for a while? Of course, take your time. Just keep in mind there's a lot of interest in that land, so if you want it, we'll need to move quickly, Chung said, giving James time to think. As for the paperwork, I'll handle it for you. Once you put down a deposit, I'll take care of everything. And you can pay the balance once the legal formalities are complete. James nodded. I'm not sure what I'll do with the land yet, but I do want to build something here. I'm just not sure whether it'll be a house or something else. You're lucky to have someone like her, Chung commented, shifting the topic. A man like you, smart and successful, she's definitely lucky. James laughed softly. She's a wonderful woman, truly. But we haven't discussed all the details yet. I want to know what she thinks first before deciding anything for sure. Chung leaned in a bit, still interested in James' personal life. So, what's her background? I imagine someone like you would be dating someone equally educated and successful. James paused, then responded. Actually, she's from a rural background. A simple, hard-working woman. I'm not too concerned about that. Chung raised an eyebrow. Really? A rural girl? I just wonder how she'll adapt to your world. It's tough in business, and people in the countryside, well, they might not be prepared for that. James smiled, shaking his head. It's true that she comes from a modest background, but she's strong and capable. I don't care about her education level or background as much. What matters is how we connect and the effort we put into making things work. Chung continued. I get it, but you should really think about how people might see her. What if she doesn't fit into the lifestyle you've built? I don't want to marry someone just for status or convenience, James replied firmly. I care about her for who she is, not where she comes from. They continued discussing the land deal, with James slowly weighing the pros and cons of purchasing it. They agreed that they would meet again soon to finalize the transaction. After that, James made his way back, thinking about the challenges ahead in both business and his personal life. After parting ways at the coffee shop, James headed straight to a jewelry store. As he entered, the shopkeeper greeted him warmly. Good afternoon, sir, the shopkeeper said with a friendly smile. How can I help you today? James looked around the display case before approaching the counter. Hello, I'm looking to buy an engagement ring, he said, his voice calm but with an unmistakable sense of determination. The shopkeeper nodded, understanding right away. Of course. Please have a look. We have a variety of designs. She then motioned toward the showcase filled with rings of various styles. James walked over, inspecting the selection carefully. There were rings with diamonds, sapphires, and other gemstones. After a few moments, he pointed to a delicate, elegant ring with a sparkling diamond in the center. This one, he said, his finger tracing the glass as he stared at the ring. I'll take this one. Excellent choice, the shopkeeper said as she retrieved the ring from the display case. Let me wrap it up for you. She placed the ring in a small velvet box and offered it to him. Here you go, sir. Would you like me to prepare a gift box as well? James nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. Yes, please. That would be great. After a brief moment, the shopkeeper returned with a beautiful box, carefully placing the velvet box inside. There you are, sir. All set. James took the box from her, and after checking the total on the register, he asked, How much is this one? The shopkeeper looked at the price tag and replied, That would be 2,350,000 VND. All right, I'll transfer the money now, James said, pulling out his phone. He scanned the QR code on the register and quickly made the payment. "It's done," he said as he handed the phone back. The shopkeeper checked her phone and confirmed the payment. "I've received it. Thank you very much, sir." James smiled, pocketing the ring box. "Thank you for your help. I'll take care of everything else from here." With that, he left the store, his heart racing a bit faster. The next step was the proposal, and he couldn't help but feel both nervous and excited about what was to come. After selling all the bananas, Diep felt very happy because her sales had gone smoothly today. She decided to stop by a nearby store to buy some food. As she entered the store, she greeted the shopkeeper and looked around for what she wanted. While browsing, an older woman standing nearby approached Diep and asked, "Excuse me, can I ask you something?" Diep turned around and smiled. "Sure, what do you need to ask?" "Well, I wanted to know, what are the symptoms of pregnancy in women?" The older woman asked gently, looking at Diep as if she wanted to be sure. Diep was a bit surprised since she had never really thought much about pregnancy. Some women experience nausea, dizziness, tiredness, and a lot of different symptoms. Some also crave sweet food, she answered briefly, partly because she didn't want to say too much, and partly because she didn't fully understand the symptoms. The older woman nodded and then added, "Oh, so are you pregnant?" Diep hesitated for a moment and then shook her head. "No, not really. It's just that I'm feeling a bit tired," she replied quickly, feeling somewhat embarrassed. The woman's question had made her uneasy. She hadn't considered the possibility of being pregnant, but now those thoughts were starting to creep into her mind, making Diep feel anxious. The older woman didn't ask any more questions, just gave a gentle smile and continued looking for her items. Diep stood still for a moment, still feeling something was off, but decided not to dwell on it. She paid for her food and walked out of the store, her mind filled with unease and many unanswered questions. James returned home, feeling a mix of anticipation and unease. As he entered the house, he asked aloud, "Has she not come back from work yet?" He then walked over to the chicken coop and called out to the chickens, "Are you all hungry now? You're hungry, right?" James continued as he moved closer. "Come here, come here, come here," he called with a light-hearted tone. He tossed some food into the chicken coop. "Here's your food, all of you," he said with a small chuckle. "Eat up, my friends." He stood there for a moment, watching the chickens peck at the food, laughing softly to himself. "Don't peck my hand, okay?" he warned them, making sure they didn't nip at him. As the chickens finished, James stood up and made his way back to the table. "It's taking her longer than usual," he muttered to himself, feeling the weight of his thoughts. Suddenly, an idea struck him, and he imagined how he would propose to Diep. In his mind, he knelt down on one knee, holding out a ring and saying, "Will you marry me?" His imagination played out a perfect scenario where Diep would happily say, "Yes, I'll be your wife." But then reality set in. "Wait, that doesn't feel right," he thought to himself. "I need to try again." James cleared his throat and imagined the words again. "Diep, will you marry me?" he whispered under his breath. He practiced it a few more times, growing more nervous with each repetition. "Okay, I think I've got it," he said to himself, but the nervousness was still there, lingering. Minutes turned into an hour, and James felt increasingly anxious. "Why is she taking so long?" he wondered aloud. His heart raced, and a sense of unease grew within him. Why was she still not back? At last, he decided to give her a call. He grabbed his phone and dialed her number, but his anxiety only deepened when the phone rang without being answered. "Why isn't she picking up?" he muttered, worried. With a deep breath, James set the phone down, deciding it was time to get back to work. "I guess I'll have to head back to the company tomorrow. There's so much left to do," he said, trying to shake off the unease that had settled over him. He left the house, unaware that Diep had returned in time to overhear his practice proposal. She leaned against the doorframe, her heart heavy with conflicting emotions. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered to herself, "I'm sorry, James, but right now I don't know how to face your proposal. I don't even know how to face this life ahead of me." She cried quietly, feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about the future. "What am I supposed to do now?" she whispered, her voice trembling as she continued to cry, unsure of how to move forward with it.
Buổi thường có những món ăn truyền thống như cơm lam, cơm nếp, xôi lết, thịt nướng. Tập quán ở người dân vùng núi thường sống ở trong những ngôi nhà truyền thống như nhà sàn của người Tày, nhà rông của người Mông. Những phong tục tập quán này đã được bảo tồn và phát triển qua nhiều thế hệ, tạo nên bản sắc văn hóa đa dạng và phong tục phong phú của các dân tộc người thiểu số ở vùng núi. Dân tộc thiểu số là những nhóm dân tộc có một số lượng rất là ít so với dân tộc đa số trong một số quốc gia và vùng lãnh thổ. Tại Việt Nam có 54 dân tộc thiểu số, chiếm khoảng 15% tổng dân số của Việt Nam. Một số dân tộc thiểu số tại Việt Nam bao gồm như người Tày, sinh sống chủ yếu tại các tỉnh phía Bắc, Lạng Sơn, Cao Bằng, Bắc Kạn. Người Thái sinh sống chủ yếu ở các tỉnh phía Bắc như Sơn La, Điện Biên, Lai Châu. Người Mông sinh sống chủ yếu tại các tỉnh phía Tây Bắc như Hà Giang, Lào Cai, Yên Bái.